Hello, and welcome to Strong Communities Unique Genius in 33. Each Wednesday at 11:30 Central, 12:30 Eastern, we take a deep dive into one of the 34 talent themes revealed by the Clifton Strengths Assessment, and we do it in just 33 minutes. Today is May 13th, and we are so glad you're joining us. My name is Lori Ware, and it's my privilege to serve as CEO for Strong Communities, a global movement that focuses on what is oh so right with people and communities of all kinds. Today, we're going to focus on the includer talent theme through the experience of our special guest, Allison Shipp. I should say Dr. Allison Shipp. Forgive me. I am so excited about learning more about the includer talent theme through your experience, Allison. And before we dive in, I would love it if you would just share a bit with our viewers, our listeners, about your personal and your professional life, and if you'd be so bold as to share your top 5, that'd be great as well. I believe you might be muted, Allison. Yes.
Excuse me. Love technology. My name is Allison Shipp, and I live in Jackson, Tennessee. Have a couple of different day jobs. So by day, for the most part, I am a vocational expert. So I provide testimony in court, basically around people with disabilities. I also just am a community advocate. Just love the community. I founded something called Give Back Jack, which started as a Giving Tuesday movement a couple of years ago when I was going through a leadership program. And it just has kind of morphed year after year. It kind of gets a little bit different. Right now, focusing on putting in some blessing boxes or free little pantries around town. And then I'm also a facilitator for Strong Communities. So those are kind of my 3 hats that I wear currently in my professional life. And then personally, I have 2 kids. I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I am married, and I live in Midtown Jackson. And just, again, I just love Jackson. So yeah, that's the brief bio.
Oh, it's easy to love Jackson, and I thank you for all the ways that you support this community. I don't know how you do it all and do it so incredibly well, but I am just so grateful
Well,
to call
thank
you
you.
friend, and to get to bear witness to all the good that you do in the world.
Thank you. Oh, my top
Yeah.
5. I forgot to say
Yes,
those. Okay.
yes.
So my number 1 is includer, and number 2 is positivity. Number 3 is ideation. Number 4 is relator. And then number 5 is achiever.
Wow, what a powerhouse. What a powerhouse.
No,
And it looks like 3 out of the 5 are relationship building.
they
And
are. I am
boy,
definitely all about relationships.
yes, you
So,
are. Yes, you are. So, so you know what? Let's take a quick peek at Gallup's definition of the includer talent theme, and
okay.
then let's just drill down into some questions. And we'll start with a higher level question or two, but let's set the stage here for includer. People
Okay.
exceptionally talented in the includer theme accept others. They show awareness of those who feel left out and make an effort to include them. And how cool is it that your professional life also supports your includer in championing um, people with other abilities? And
Absolutely.
so when I look at your top 5, it's like, boy, you are just hardwired to champion causes in people, and
Right.
just truly respect and appreciate it. So curious, this is not a question that we've always asked because we try to stay focused on just the theme that we're spotlighting. But we're living in a different world these days, and so it makes me curious, in light of the global pandemic we're all experiencing, if one of your top 5 is really standing out as the one that's serving you and supporting you in this.
Probably ideation.
Mm,
I feel like, you know, like, as you mentioned, the world is very different. So I've had so many different ideas. You know, for instance, you know, I printed out some little sheets of paper that, you know, you could fill in. You could say, hi, my name is such and such. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. I'd be happy to pick up groceries or call and check on you. You know, little pieces of paper that you could distribute to your neighbors. So I did some of that. You know, distributed those to the neighbors, and then also put some in some boxes around town that people could come and pick up, you know, if they want to do that themselves. You know, turning free little libraries into free little pantries. I feel like because we do have so much downtime, my little synapses are like constantly firing. Oh, let's do this idea. And what about that idea? And sometimes it's tough to rein it in, but I love, you know, all those ideas kind of buzzing around. So.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And your ideation and your includer are doing a beautiful, beautiful dance around rallying the community around your ideas and getting innovative about how you implement those.
Thank you.
I so appreciate how you've used technology to engage people and engage resources of all kinds to even build these boxes and stock these boxes through Amazon orders that are arriving
absolutely.
at your door. So it's good stuff, Allison. Shipp. It's good stuff. So what about one of your themes that's potentially, if there are any of your themes that is frustrating you a bit?
I'm gonna have to give two.
It looks like we have
positivity. I tend to be glass half full. Oh, is that any better? Can you hear me?
It is. I think our connection is unstable,
No.
and that is a. I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like our connection is a little bit unstable, and that's not unusual these days. So you said there were two.
Yes, I would say two. The first one is positivity. It's a tough time to be positive. I tend to be a glass half full, you know, look at the bright side, Pollyanna, you know, walking around with rainbows, you know, everywhere kind of thing. And that's not always the case for everybody. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on for, you know, for individuals, for, you know, groups of people that, I mean, it can be just a tough time for a lot of people. So just trying to just being respectful to rein that one in, you know, just because I don't want to come across as, oh, I don't care, or I'm not, you know, appreciating the different circumstances of everyone. The second one is Relator. It's just hard because I like connecting with people and, you know, being around folks. And I mean, I'm a face-to-face kind of person. So phone is okay. Email, text is fine. But I want to sit with somebody on my front porch and just have a face-to-face conversation. And we just haven't really been able to do that much lately. So that has been tough as well. So.
Yeah, that would have to be really, really challenging not to be able to honor that need for that one-on-one deep conversation that is just unparalleled when it happens face to face. Just a note for our listeners: this is so important to Allison that she has arranged her front porch in a way that honors social distancing and allows friends to come and be in her positive sunshine. And I know I certainly appreciate that, but boy, I also appreciate your sensitivity to the fact that when people are when they're hurting, you know, that they don't want to hear about unicorns and rainbows. You know, they want us to meet them where they are. And so love your sensitivity to that. So let's take a look more deeply at the includer theme and tell us what you absolutely love about your includer
Okay.
theme.
I love the fact that there is, with me, with everybody, there's virtually zero judgment. So I walk in, to a relationship, to a person, situation, and I accept that person where they're at, what their past is, where they're going. I embrace all people, and I do tend to, the ones that are on the fringes a little bit, I do tend to want to kind of pull them in, just to make sure, that people aren't feeling left out, or that they're not feeling slighted or things like that. And I enjoy that. The thought of, I'm a preschool teacher at my church, and, one of the things I love to do is the kids that are kind of sitting by themselves, the little 4-year-old that's sad for whatever reason, I love taking the time to go, talk to him and bring him in and kind of make sure that he feels accepted and included in with the group. And, if I don't have, that's my lifeblood right there. So I love that about my includer.
Yeah. And I'm sure that those children really appreciate that as well. So is there ever a moment when your need to include, it becomes a frustration for you?
Yes. So things can get too big. So I have a lot of ands. So for instance, say I'm working on a project and it might initially be targeted towards a specific something, for instance, the blessing boxes. I'll just, say that I'm in the process of, kind of coordinating, getting some blessing boxes put around town where people can bring what they have, take what they need, kind of thing. Well, I want every corner to have one. Like and eventually we might in Jackson. I don't know, but it's hard to kind of stop, because I want, oh yeah, they need one, and they need one, and that group needs one, and that church, and things like that. And sometimes I just need to slow down and focus on the first few, get those in place, and then I can worry about bringing others in. And another thing is, and I hate that it comes across this way, but sometimes it can come across as insincere, because and this is a silly example, but for instance, say on Facebook, if I love a comment on one of my statuses and then I like the next one, I'm like, oh, I start over analyzing. I'm like, oh, I don't want them to feel left out, that I loved that person's comment and only liked theirs. So then I just go and love everybody's, because I want everybody to feel loved. And so what it can wind up doing is making people feel like, oh, well, I guess she just goes and loves everything. She's so positive and, wanting to include everybody, that there's no, it's hard to differentiate. And because sometimes it is okay for people to feel special. It's just a struggle with me sometimes, that I want people to feel so included and so special that at times people may not feel that way at all. So.
Isn't that interesting? What an incredible awareness for you to have around that. That's really powerful.
It's taken a few years.
It's so much a part of you. Well, and I think about how incredibly powerful these talent themes are, and how what we know is that they all land on a continuum within our experience of either being raw, just raw talent and not necessarily productive or potentially unproductive for us and for others, and then refined being at the other end of that continuum, where we're conscientiously and consciously utilizing them for better outcomes, so they're productive for us and for folks around us. And the awareness that we have as certain situations, we vacillate, even if we've worked diligently to refine that so that it's a bona fide strength, there are moments and situations where it can still show up as a compulsion, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Is that how you would describe? Is that how you would describe that, Allison? When it's like I've got to.
Yes, I hate to use that word, or, but as soon as you said that word, I was like, oh yeah, that's probably kind of what it is. But yeah, it is a compulsion to make sure everybody feels special and everybody feels included, and then at the same time, it winds up watering everything down sometimes. So I do have to be more, cognizant of that.
Well, it's each of them, includer, and you are not alone in this. Every theme has a need, and it's like we have muscle memory. Like we're hardwired for that type of responsive approach, and so sometimes it's
Right.
out there before we have time to give it consideration. And so I'm wondering, do you have a recall of when you first realized that it was so important to you to ensure that no one was
Mhm.
excluded?
I'm trying to think. I mean, elementary school, just not any big, examples, but just things like, in the cafeteria or at recess, if there were kids that were being bullied well, I do remember, I remember one
Mm.
example. There was a kid that was being bullied in first grade, and I was a small first grader, and the big first grader was bullying him, and I just told him, I said, I'm gonna fight you, and this is not my nature at all, but I felt so compelled to just stand up for that kid because he was
Mm.
being left out, and he was being, just talked mean to, and it just got to me.
Mm.
So that's one example. That was my one and only fight in my entire life. I was one and done. But just, for instance, if, some kids were, sitting by themselves in the cafeteria, I would want to go talk to them. I didn't really have a clique in high school. I kind of, tried to be friends with everybody, tried to be kind to everybody, as much as I could. Again, if somebody's sitting by themselves, wanted to kind of go talk to them, pull them in, make sure that they, felt like at least somebody cared about them. So those are kind of some of my first memories of that.
Wow, you were a champion for people way back when, right? Way back when. Um,
Yeah.
so another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How does includer play with your other talent themes? Where do you see them do little duets?
Okay. Let's see. So a lot of time I have achiever in there. So a lot of times my projects or my, whatever I find myself kind of gravitating towards is about, let's make sure everybody has what they need, or let's make sure that everybody from all, walks of the community or the neighborhood or whatever, that they can have access to, for instance, food, or they have access to, the help if they need help. So that's that plays off of each other a lot. Most of my projects do tend to be focused around that. The includer and positivity and the relator, those three, I love relationships. I love being positive in relationships. And then I also, I like to cultivate relationships with all different types of people. So, my circle of friends may look a little bit different, depending on the day or month or year, but I do like to try to, I love all people. So those three kind of play together. So
Oh,
they
love
play
that.
together
Love
pretty
that.
well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Do you by chance have any themes that don't always play nice together?
The includer in the relator, and I did talk about that a little bit, but I genuinely care about people. I care about relationships. I care about, I kind of joke that I want to skip the first three questions. I want to skip the how's the weather and XYZ, and I want to get down to so why did you get into your profession, or just kind of some of those deeper dive questions. But at the same time, I have that includer, so that means I want to like talk to everybody, or I want to make sure that everybody feels that way. So there's
Mhm.
that a little bit of that battle of, well, how can you, have deeper friendships and conversations and, communication when you feel like everybody, you need to have that with everybody. So again, just kind of that theme where I was talking about earlier, those tend to, while they work together, at the same time, they can kind of water each other down if I'm not careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also I mentioned the achiever too in ideation. I want to include, I have all these ideas. And so I want to make sure that I invite all those people, or that I, have all those people at this thing. And that may or may not be feasible. So sometimes I have to make sure I rein that includer in just a little bit and kind of remember, okay, well, what is the purpose of this? And let's make sure that we, work towards that. So.
Allison, it sounds like you have a great relationship with your talent themes, that you know them well, and that you are, they converse with each other, and you're kind, it's like a symphony, they're all playing together, and you're very aware of it. And the community benefits from it tremendously. So,
thank you.
I had this image of you at a networking event.
Yes.
With a little nucleus of people around you, so that you could satisfy the need to, to bring people in. And I've seen you on many occasions reach out to someone and say, hey, come join us over here. And so that's they do a nice tango together for sure. So
thank you.
do you ever see your includer show up differently at work and at home, or is it pretty much present itself and everything in a similar way?
I would say I do not. I need some achiever at home. I need to get, like, I wish I had more achiever at home. Oh, I'm sorry, we're talking about includer. Let me think with the includer. Okay. With the includer, I have 2 kids.
But you're allowed.
So,
you're allowed.
Well, I was just thinking I need to channel some of that, achiever needs to clean my house kind of mojo, and because I can go do other things in the community, but yet, my house is a wreck. So, but no, as far as the includer, I have a husband, I have 2 kids, and just making sure that, if I spend time with this one, I got to make sure that I spend time with that one. And, the quality time with this one might look a little bit different than the quality time with that one. And I feel like there's that constant dance in my head of making sure, well, did I hang out enough with Parker today, or, Savannah, or my husband, or, things like that. Just kind of to make sure, in this environment. And then at work, I would say it's a little bit different in that, we don't really have people on the fringe in my house. I mean, we got 4 people, in the house. So it does play, it's a little bit different in that I want to make sure that the time is shared equally, and, that I include everyone in the time. Whereas in my job or out in the community, it's more of bringing people in that may or may not, already be in the fold kind of thing. So I guess that's how it plays out a little bit differently at home versus out in the real world or in my work world.
Yeah. That makes abundant sense for sure. So this is my favorite question that we get to ask.
Okay.
Because it's in my opinion, it's just the best, because it's what I'm hungry to know about people is, what do you wish others knew about the includer talent theme that could help them understand where you're coming from, or could potentially even alleviate misunderstandings? So what wisdom, how would you counsel those of us who do not have includer in our top 5 on what you would love for us to know?
I guess a lot of times I feel like I spend so much time gaining credibility that I do care, that it's not just a put on, that I'm not just really trying to, act like I care. I genuinely do care about everybody that's in front of me. And so I guess maybe I wish that people would know that, oh yeah, well, she is being genuine, and she really doesn't, she doesn't judge, because a lot of times there's so much judgment in this world. And I truly, how the person standing in front of me right there, right now, is how I love them. And I just wish that I didn't have to kind of prove that so much, or, that there wasn't the world breeds skepticism with a lot of that. So I wish that I could just have something plastered on my forehead that says, you don't have to be somebody different when you're around me, because I accept you for who you are right now.
Oh man.
And maybe I'll get a button for that.
Well, you make such a great point. We've all been pretty conditioned over the course of our lifetime to notice what's wrong first, right? So we kind of have this deficit-based mentality, and which does breed skepticism, and so I know there another talent theme that comes to mind that bears that same burden sometimes is woo, because there's such a love of meeting new people that people just cannot even fathom that somebody really is that excited to meet them. And so so I've never thought about Includer having that same experience of I'm for real. This is not a facade. This is not a tactic. This is who I am, and I really do see you for who you are, and love you for who you are. That's real.
I include all parts. That's right. Yeah.
I include all parts. That's exactly right. No judgment here. This is no judgment zone. And so what a beautiful thing for our listeners and viewers to understand is when you work with, or you live with, or you have family or friends that have the Includer theme in their top 5, that they really do want to connect with everyone, and in particular those who appear to be isolated, and that could be challenging for someone who was a partner or spouse that didn't have that awareness, because it could be interpreted as you're more interested in everybody else than you are in what's going on right here. And have you ever had that experience where that was the interpretation? Yeah. So we just, I know you're not
a little bit,
but I was going to say we could text you.
Yeah. I'll get a button, Lori.
No.
No. Or a necklace.
What I would offer, honestly, is that anyone who has the privilege of spending time with you, even just a few moments, gets that it's for real, that you genuinely, truly love, embrace, accept everyone. And that is a gift to the world. I'm curious if anybody, maybe we should check and see if there's anybody in the chat room with a question for you. Feel free to chat. If you have a question for Allison about Includer, we'll give you just a minute or two to do that. And I'm thinking we won't open the lines because we're a little tight on time. And it looks like we're good to go on questions. Allison, is there anything else you would like to share about Includer or otherwise?
Just, I would love it if we all had, of course we all do somewhere have the Includer talent, but especially in this time, reach out to those people that for whatever, maybe isolating, your next door neighbor that may be staying home, for her own personal reasons, and just try to drop the judgment if possible. We all have so much back behind, what we portray to the world. If we could all just drop judgments for even 10 days, I cannot imagine, the love and the world peace is, we're always trying to get to, that's my thing. Just, that's what I would suggest, is try to drop drop the judgments and just try to
Mhm.
love and reach out to folks who, who may be having a little tougher time right now.
Oh, absolutely. Suspend judgment. Just suspend it. You know what came to me when you were talking about that, Allison, is when we look at what's happening globally, because people are at home and there's not the air pollution, the water pollution, that our streams and our oceans are brighter and clearer, our skies are clearer. And
Hmm.
imagine what would be possible if we suspended judgment and could stand united in acceptance, and not just acceptance, but in celebration of who we are, how we are, and especially in what makes
Hmm.
us different. Because what you and I know, and what we know from a
Right.
strength perspective, is that our differences are truly our advantages. And
Absolutely.
as we
Hmm.
embrace those, we will elevate the vibration of this planet.
Yes, I believe it. I'm ready.
Yes, me too. Me
Yeah.
too. Oh, Allison, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes,
I
I've
have
enjoyed it.
enjoyed it so much, and I know it will be a gift to those who are interested in learning more about the includer talent theme. And I just want
Thank
to
you.
say to those who have joined us, stay safe and stay well, and join Allison and I in suspending judgment, so that we can all have a more loving experience, especially in the times that we live in today. We'll look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday on Unique Genius in 33. Allison, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right.